welcome to another CHRO Conversation, hosted by the Center for Executive Succession at the Darla Moore School of Business. I'm your host, Anthony Nyberg, and today we are speaking with Katie O'Connell-Jones, CHRO for the PRA Group. Prior to serving in her current role as CHRO, Katie served in leadership roles at both SunTrust Bank and United Guaranty Corporation. So Katie, first, thank you very much for joining us. We sincerely appreciate it, and I'm really honored to have you with us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. This is fun to do.
So the first thing I'd like to just ask you about is kind of being CHRO during 2020. So kind of given the prevalence of HR and really being at the forefront of dealing with so many of the people issues that come around due to the pandemic and the social justice issues, where do you think HR can really make the biggest difference?
I think HR has an opportunity to make a difference on many avenues. But one in particular is holding up what I call the proverbial mirror and helping the leadership team look openly, honestly, as to what's working well, what's not working well, recognizing where there's some change that's needed. And I think HR in particular has an opportunity to do that, and maybe an obligation to do that, because we do tend to be the moral compass at times for the organization. And especially during the pandemic, there was an opportunity to see how things worked with your business continuity plans, risk management. And then it got to some things that I think are a little more near and dear to an HR business leader's heart: talent management, succession planning. If you did have a leader that needed to be out, whether it was due to the pandemic or for other reasons, how viable was your succession plan? And then how ready were your successor candidates, even if it was only on an interim basis? So where I think that HR has a unique opportunity is to ensure that your talent and your succession plans and your performance management processes and your development plans are realistic for all of your talent needs go forward. I think that's where we really had an opportunity to contribute this year.
And so it's really interesting. It sounds like you were talking about both really an opportunity to help the people within the organization, but also responsibility to help your fellow executives work through all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing which I thought was relevant, and that a lot of my peers that I've spoken to from other CHRO roundtables and forums, was the opportunity for the leadership team to be vulnerable together, to realize that for many of us, it was the first time perhaps we had experienced this type of a challenge or endeavor, and or when we did before, it was different this go round. And so we were all learning new tricks and learning how to have a safe place together and have a consistent and connected and strong face outward to all employees and to other stakeholders. So helping the executive team realize, hey, it's okay. We'll figure it out. No, we haven't done this before, but we can and we will. I think there was that opportunity to help my peers and executive leaders, not just at the company I work with, but those that you have networks or contacts with. So I think that was very beneficial to help too. But for the employees in particular of any organization, most people were looking at the president, the CEO, the COO, and the CHRO. And not to leave anybody out, because everybody, I think, at all organizations played a key role. But there were certain roles in an executive team at organizations that I think that were a little more in the forefront.
So one of the things you just mentioned was the desire to really have a singular voice as you reach out from the executive team to the whole organization. As the CHRO, is that a critical role for you to help keep those voices aligned and looking strong? And maybe even more interesting to me is where is the line between sharing the vulnerability that the executive team, the members may be facing, versus putting on that strong face to give confidence to all the employees?
Yeah, that's a great question, Anthony. And it is a fine line because being authentic and being transparent with employees that we're all in uncharted territory, new territory, that we don't know what's happening next. And as you know, over the past 6 months, there was just wave after wave of something new related to the pandemic, whether it was some new aspect of how it spreads, new rules in the workplace with regards to social distancing, wearing masks, protecting yourselves, local level ordinances that went into effect, and especially for companies that operate in multiple states, locations, or like my company, in multiple countries, recognizing one size does not fit all. So I think it's very much caused us as a leadership team to have to balance that. Where we elected to kind of play was to be transparent that we were also learning and growing together, but that we were confident in the ability to help lead the organization through this. That we were also very confident in the employees' ability to be successful, to be safe, to be productive and paid throughout the process. So I think it was a combination of, yes, wanting to be vulnerable, that you were experiencing new things, but there's always some sausage making that you just don't share. And I think we all experience that even as kids. There's some things the parents just don't tell the kids. And not to say that employees are the kids and leadership are the parents, but there are some similarities, and you want to be forthright and authentic, but you don't want to scare people. And so, what's the appropriate audience for how much data, the devil in the details, needs to be shared? So it was a delicate balance, though. I'll definitely give that.
So, as a particularly successful person and as a woman successful in industries that are not often known for women having been really successful, do you have suggestions for how, as a society, we can do a better job of making the playing field more even for everyone and making sure that opportunities are really there for women to reach the top of the organization?
Well, first of all, thank you for the nice compliment. Um, uh, I've personally seen, especially over the past 2 years, a lot of progression on this front. And I will, acknowledge much of that perhaps has been catapulted by Me Too or by public expectation that there be diversity on leadership teams and on the board. But I also believe that businesses and leaders want to do the right thing. And perhaps I'm a trusting person and I do generally see the glasses half full as opposed to half empty. I believe people want to do the right thing. Sometimes you need a little nudge or push to do that. When I though think about opportunities for increasing opportunity for females as well as racially diverse talent in organizations, I like to first start with what's it like as a person before my professional expectations. So, for example, in my personal life, do I have a favorite brand or a favorite product that I like to buy? And as a consumer, what do I know about the leadership team or the board that creates that product? So I think there's an opportunity that first, as individuals, we ensure that we're being more aware of the organizations that are providing or producing products or things that we use day in, day out. Be more informed consumers first.
That I just have not heard anyone really talk about it from that perspective, but that of course makes perfect sense. Yes, we should all be doing that.
I just, for me, I'm a curious person. You know that from partnering with me over the past several years in various venues. But for me, I'm very curious about that. So I find that, before I bring it into the workplace, I have to be honest about that with me outside of the workplace. And I do believe that awareness starts with me as an individual, and that will help me hopefully be a better leader in the business place. So I would like to challenge everybody to be more personally aware. What are your own personal consumer buying habits? What are your own personal preferences for what you do and don't like? And check those at the door first. I think if more people do that, then I think it will naturally bleed into the corporate environment and other social venues. At least, again, maybe that's my glass half full. But I do think there's an opportunity for, the look in the mirror first. It starts with me. And I think if I'm more aware and informed, that's going to carry over into my professional life.
I love that. Yes, I think we should all be doing that. That's a great suggestion. Thank you.
Yeah.
So switching now just a little bit to talking about succession planning, because we're part of the Center for Executive Succession. Particularly when there is that CEO transition, does the CHRO play a particular role in helping the new CEO into that role, and what would that help look like?
Absolutely. And over the course of my career, I've had the opportunity to support and help a few CEO transitions, and it's something I'm very fond of. And I'm also very grateful that I've had the opportunity to support those. I think the first thing that a CHRO can help a CEO transition with is to ensure that the incoming and outgoing CEO have a mutually agreed upon transition plan. It's not a one-person show. It's at least a two or multi-person show endeavor when that's happening. And most employees are going to look at how the departing CEO is treated. And we know that when we have other things that happen in the workplace, when you have a large reduction in force, when you have major business changes, your employees are going to look to see how are people treated during the change. Those that stay, those that leave, etc. So I believe a CHRO can really help the new CEO by ensuring that they have a good and mutually agreed upon transition plan with the former CEO. So that's step number one. I think another key aspect to help a CEO is to ensure that she or he is not underestimating the loyalty card that a lot of employees might have for the former CEO, and also to be very transparent early about what changes they're looking to see, what they want to preserve that was done under the former CEO, what changes they would like to see under themselves as the new CEO, and to be pretty open about that. So the visibility, the transparency, the awareness, I think are really important. And one other thing, which I think is less talked about or less recognized, it can be very lonely in the CEO chair. There's all of a sudden you might, especially if you're an internal promotion or succession plan into that post, all of a sudden you're not one of your peers. And that doesn't mean that you can't be friendly with or still have some good relationships, but it changes. And sometimes it can be very lonely. And so I think another thing a CHRO can help a CEO with is to encourage them to be cognizant of that, prepare for that. And I think it's really valuable if a CEO joins some type of a CEO forum or roundtable where they can be surrounded by others in a similar situation, where they can have another safe place for either best practice sharing, getting advice, learning from, experiencing some new things. So, just ensuring that they know they don't have to go it alone and to expect that things are going to kind of feel a little bit different. So it's a lot of change for everybody.
And on that kind of that loneliness front, is that a CHRO thing also? Because you are the keeper of all the secrets.
Absolutely, it is.
So I was wondering, is that the same advice you'd give for CHROs who join these kind of groups and recognize going into it? Because I assume that It must be very different from any other position in the organization, again, because you have all these secrets that you can't actually share with anyone.
Absolutely, it is. And actually, one of the reasons why I started kind of advising or encouraging CEOs or other very senior level C-suite leaders to engage in some type of a forum or group where they can be with others like them outside of the organization is because I know what it's like firsthand. It can be very lonely. If you think about it, and when you're in HR, you're just exposed to some things either from the board, from the CEO, from others that are confiding in you, seeking advice and direction. You know a bunch of stuff that you just can't share, and or you have to figure out a way that you can share in a way where you're keeping it anonymous as to what someone particularly said, or helping to raise awareness about an area of opportunity. Perhaps that can be further developed. So yes, I am speaking from experience when I recommend that a CEO make certain that she surrounds herself with other CEOs for friends.
And also along that, kind of going back to the succession part, one of the areas that does not get discussed as much as maybe others is that building of that executive leadership team when the new CEO takes place.
Yeah.
Is that something that the CHRO can help with? And in general, what should the CEO and CHRO be doing to build an effective, really highly functioning executive leadership team? If that matters, we can even start with that.
Yeah, I do think it matters. And actually, I view it as a shared accountability. I think that all members of the executive leadership team are responsible for the effectiveness, the productivity, and the efficiency, and the brand of the leadership team. So, we all contribute to that. I do, however, believe that the CEO and the CHRO have maybe the closest connection and opportunity for kind of co-owning that. I think how much time and effort and energy you put into either building or developing a team really depends on the state of health and maturity, that the team is on. But when you have a new CEO, it's almost like it kind of starts over or starts fresh. So I do think, and as a CHRO, what I've done with leaders that I've had the honor of supporting when they've moved into a new role is to help them just be really clear about accountability and their expectations. Even if it's to say, hey, for the first 90 days, I want to continue running our executive leadership team meetings the way they always have. We'll find a new rhythm. That's okay. Or to say, you know what, I've never liked it when we did this or this, and so we're going to stop doing those right away, and here's what I'd like to do. So just being upfront. I also think communication is really critical. Every leader, yourself, myself, we have our own preferred style of communicating, how we like to give and receive information. For example, for me, a pet peeve is being late. So that's one of the first things I put out there with every member of my team and my partners and my peers. Being late is a pet peeve of mine. You get on my bad list if you're late. Missing deadlines, that's another one. So sometimes just being really upfront about styles and preferences can go a long way. And so whether it's for a new CEO or another just C-suite level leader, being transparent about here's my preferred communication style, and also what are yours? I'd like to know yours. How can I best communicate with you? So just being open and being willing to share a bit more there.
And are there some characteristics that would really be able to describe successful executive leadership teams? I mean, are those that are most effective or efficient, do they have some things in common?
Sure. For me, I think it's a relatively short list, though. Trust is number one. On leadership teams, or really any team you're on, you've got to have trust that as a team, each member of the team cares about you, wants you to be successful, trust that you are operating with good intent, trust that you want to do a good job, has your back in a situation. So I think trust is kind of number one. Closely second to that, I think, is respect. And respect is different than likability. I have been on teams where I didn't necessarily like everybody, but I respected them. What is their knowledge? What is their subject matter expertise? So respecting that they have the knowledge and ability to help the team win. They have the knowledge and ability to help the company perform. So trust and respect are the top two. And I would say the third one, and that's really kind of the end of my list, is going to be just well-developed EQ skills. And that's one that, you hear a lot about, emotional intelligence and being empathetic and, good listening. And those are all very, very important. And I don't mean to minimize any of those. But when you package it together, a leader who is lacking developed EQ skills is going to miss out on a lot. And I don't believe that they will enjoy the optimal levels of trust and respect with their peers. And therefore, they may not get it in return, which could limit or impact their ability to be as effective as possible. So that's my short list. I'm sure there's a 10, 12, dozen more of other competencies or capabilities that do contribute to a successful leadership team and leader members. But for me, it's kind of those three.
Those three make a lot of sense. Is that, especially the third one, the EQ skills, is that something, does the CEO need to select people to his ELT that have those skills, or is that something that like the CHRO can actually help the members develop?
I think both, Anthony. I do think, first of all, I do think EQ skills to a degree can be developed and enhanced. However, also there are some, I also think that some people just have it and some don't. So, knowing when you might be banging your head against a wall is important to recognize too. At some point, perhaps there's just, but so much skill or ability one can acquire in a certain area. Where I think, though, that HR and a CHRO can really help there is as we're thinking about success profiles for leadership positions, make certain that those are capabilities or skills that are identified as being important. Because if you're succeeding in developing and creating robust succession plans deeper throughout the organization, you're going to get people before they're ready for that level of an opportunity. And hopefully you will then ensure that your development planning programs and focus areas are on things like EQ skills. And that way, as you go through kind of normal processes of high potential identification, talent reviews, succession planning, you're screening in and screening out along the way. So I think that there's an opportunity for HR in particular to ensure that there's more rigor in the development planning programs and in the talent assessment and selection processes before someone shows up on a succession plan chart.
And during your career, you've had a number of different HR experiences in a variety of industries. Based on these experiences and what you know, do you think that there are, or what are some of the similarities from the HR role, particularly high HR roles, across these fields, and then what might be some of the differences?
I have had the opportunity to work in a few different industries, and I like that. I like continuing, as I said, continual learner. For me, it's really fun to learn about new and different industries and environments. However, I will also say I think there are more similarities than differences in HR functions, regardless of the industry. And some common themes seem to show up. Number one, realistic development plans, realistic succession plans, ensuring that you have something that's actionable, ensuring that it's also not so tight that there's no room for change when the business might need a change, and or when all of a sudden that person who was specifically intended to be the successor, the chosen one, is all of a sudden not available. You can't then all of a sudden be starting from scratch. So ensuring you have plan A, plan B, and alternate plan B is really important in the process. And actually, I think regardless of industry, I think that's something that all HR executives have as an opportunity and as a challenge in the company. Another one I think is continuing to build the brand of the business of HR. And I've had the opportunity to work at organizations that have very high regard for the human resources function, and for others that are still learning to appreciate the HR function and everything that it can bring to bear. But I still think that there's always the opportunity for brand evolution of an HR business leader, for the reputation that HR has within the organization and with external key stakeholders. So ensuring that HR is continuing to be very business savvy, knowledgeable, not using a bunch of buzzwords like human capital metrics and workforce talent planning, but really helping ensure that everything we bring forward from a program or an offering or a consultation directly foots back to the strategic business plan. So that is something that I also see as a consistent theme and opportunity, again, regardless of industry. And then the last thing I would say is where perhaps it is a little unique and different is and varies by industry, is really understanding your consumer. What is the consumer demographics for the business in which you operate? What are their expectations? And then based on that, I do think that HR has an opportunity to help ensure that the strategic business plan is recognizing some of those tenets, and that we bring it forward into HR in the performance management, goal setting, and performance evaluation processes. And that's where I see that there's some more things that are unique to the specific industry that you're operating in.
Katie, as always, it is a great delight and pleasure and honor for me to get to talk to you. So thank you very much for sharing your wisdom with us. We sincerely appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate catching up with you, and it was a great conversation today, Anthony. Thank you.
You just listened to another CHRO conversation. Today, Katie O'Connell-Jones, CHRO, the PRA group, shared her views on what HR can do to lead during a crisis. She also shared her wisdom on what individuals can do to achieve career success. On behalf of all of us who are associated with the Master of Human Resources program and the Center for Executive Succession here in the Darla Moore School of Business at the University of South Carolina, thank you for joining us.